Good day all, anywhere you are watching from. My name is Dr. Iroboma, also known as the Power Doctor. We have an interesting topic before us today titled Energy Theft in Africa at a Glance. We have a kind of running title. Permit me to also let us know that our running title for today's lecture will be calculation of revenue loss for meter tampering in a typical three-phase scenario. Before we move further, it's good to give us a little bit of statistics as it concerns energy theft. It has been established globally that $96 billion is $96 billion per year has been expended, and we use the word on energy theft. The amount of energy stolen per year accrued globally to $96 billion. We have another research in a typical Nigerian scenario, which attributes revenue loss to range between 35 and 40% in a typical Nigeria scenario. We've also have studies in Uganda. According to Wabukala, said electricity theft in Western Uganda stands at 72%, followed by Eastern and Northern Uganda. Liberia also, 60% of electricity generated was stolen in the year 2017. South Africa, ESCOM also have a share in this energy theft scenario. It has been established that over 200 billion rand was lost due to energy theft, according to ESCOM, but the total country estimate is supposedly twice that of ESCOM. More interesting, according to Wabukala, the researcher has estimated that energy theft is on the increase in rural area, if not the highest. This now makes our discussion very, very interesting. It makes our discussion very interesting to also let us know that even those in the rural area, in rural area now see the need for electricity. The need for electricity has cut across all sectors of our lives, that even those in rural areas now feel that electricity is a necessity and not supposedly a privilege. What are the causes of energy theft in Africa? High electricity tariff. When people could no longer pay due to a low GDP, they engage in stealing of energy. Poor quality of supply, corruption, and poor law enforcement. These are common causes of energy theft in Africa. And energy theft can have a number of negative consequences, including, and the most paramount of them, is increase in revenue losses. For every energy that party A stole, who do you think is going to pay for the energy? The system will sit down, calibrate this such that their losses is brought to the barest minimum. Such, for energy that party A stole, party B might be made to pay for this energy from the business angle. This can also increase the debt profile in a particular country. Of course, energy itself, the flow of electricity flows from top to bottom, but the finances comes from bottom to top. So in a typical Nigerian scenario, we expect the consumer to pay the disco. The disco will pay transmission. Transmission will pay generation. Generation will pay those providing them with gas. In our case, our gas power plant is over 70%. And the gas power plant guys will pay those who provide them with raw materials. And that is how the value chain continues. So just imagine when you keep stealing energy at the bottom level, it means those at the top, you're already putting them into debt. There are various ways that energy are stolen. One typical way is the energy bypass before the meter. Using a flexible conductor to short circuit these two lines, thereby making this meter a dummy variable. This is one typical way in engaging for those who bypass, and it seems to be one of the most common way. These activities are carried out at night hours, mostly carried out at night hours, or during the day in areas that are not under surveillance. Energy theft inside the meter. In this scenario, we have observed that there will be continuity between the meter and connected load. The circuitry of the meter at this instance would have been tampered with, and only trained experts can do this. I'm passing an information across. Only trained experts can do this. In this case, your meter will look as if it is working, whereas it has been bypassed and the load served directly or the circuitry tampered to read slowly. Typical scenario here, you will see someone with a 3 kilowatt or 2 kilowatt remaining in his energy. And once the meter begin to give out the buzzer, that buzzer can be there for a month. What does this mean? It implies that the circuitry of the meter have been tampered. Perpetrators of this nature of theft are highly confident, and most time, they don't bother about the presence of monitoring team or the time of the day. Energy bypass outside the meter. In this case, the meter itself is calibrated to serve light load during off-peak period, while the bypass is to serve peak load. This load is hidden from the appropriate authority. Energy theft after the meter is commonly practiced in residents where the appropriate authorities do not have access into. This type of theft also requires the assistance of an expert trained on the system. Having said this, we want to do a typical scenario because we have found out that sometimes as a customer or as a consumer, once you get caught, the authorities will just go ahead and continue with their job. But should you get caught, follow this lecture to the end so that you will know how the appropriate authority will estimate the revenue loss, the power loss, the energy loss, which can be converted to monetary term, so that you can know how much you are owing the system. We will use a typical Nigeria scenario. Assuming a 3-phase customer, a customer with a 3-phase meter have been stealing energy for 9 months, and this customer got caught. The first thing the authority will do is to bring out their clamp meter and ask the customer to put on all his or her load, after which the clamp meter will be used to estimate the ampere, the load in ampere, the total load in ampere that this building is consuming at that instance. Once the authority are able to estimate this, But since we are doing a typical scenario, we want to assume from field experience and from research in this part of the world that for a typical load, a family living in a 2-bedroom apartment, 4 ampere may be okay for you. So for the purpose of this study, we are assuming a 4 ampere load in a 2-bedroom apartment. So what the authority will do is to calculate the total power. Sorry, this is power. Calculate the total power. And what is power? In electrical engineering, power is voltage times current. But this is a 3-phase scenario. Hence, we have the RMS voltage. The load is what is estimated from the clamp meter. Power factor is a constant value. Diversity factor, we are assuming that all your load cannot be connected at once. Then we have the hours of supply. Okay, if the hours of supply is there, then this can be energy. Then the hours of supply and the number of days in a month. With other variables, that's why I have these 3 dots. With other variables, that's why I have these 3 dots. Then you estimate the energy directly to be power times time. There are some instances that we need to know. The RMS value for this case is 415. So that when you are with the system, you can also calculate, once the authority are also calculating, this value for a 3-phase customer does not change, 415. The load consumption is what was calculated in your premises. Power factor 0.8, also a constant value. Diversity factor, this factor will help you a lot because this factor is assuming that you cannot put on all your load at once. 0.6, it may also vary, but 0.6 should like be the what is standard, or 0.7 or 0.8, depending on the disco, what they want to use. But the value can never be 1 because we are assuming that, or we know that your load, you can never put on all the load in your premises at once. The hours of supply. In this case, we are dealing with a band B. And for those, if you are not living in Nigeria we have our tariff structure is into 5 categories. Band A customers are the customers who pay as high as 220 naira or thereabout for a unit of electricity, and they are guaranteed, according to the authority, with 20 hours of supply a day minimum. The Band B customers are guaranteed with minimum of 16 hours in a day. The Band C customers are guaranteed a minimum of 12 hours power supply in a day. The Band D customers are guaranteed with a minimum of 8 hours, while the Band E are guaranteed with a minimum of 4 hours of supply in a day. That is our banding structure. While the Band A pay the highest, the Band E pays the lowest. So your time here, 30 is used as against 31. Even if it's on a 31-day month, the authority, the standard they use is 30, but this may also vary. Please know this information will also help you to calculate, or probably you have been stealing energy for some time. You may just want to do this calculation on a daily basis so that it can help you when the authority, once you get caught, you can easily calculate so that it will not be difficult for you when the time comes, because then maybe your state of mind also may not be able, may not assist you to do the right calculation. So from here, we calculate mixing the power and the energy together, but just bear with me. Our goal is to calculate the energy. Since we already have time here, this 30 is bound to say time, the number of days in a month. So I'm kind of mix up, just bear with me. So after those information have been inserted, for instance, for a 4 ampere, for a customer who is consuming 4 ampere, this is your root 3, which is your RMS voltage, days multiplied by days, the 415. This is the square root of 3, which eventually also be a constant value. This is the load that the individual is assumed to be consuming. This value is the power factor, 0.8. This value is your diversity factor as what? 0.6, assuming that you are not putting your load on at the same time. This 16 of a value is we are working with Band B customers, and Band B, they are guaranteed a minimum of 16 hours of supply in a day, and this is a 30, the number of days in a month. Having done this, we have estimated the total energy loss to be 665.5 kilowatt hour. This is what the authority have been able to estimate for a customer that have been stealing energy. This value is just a value for 1 month. And this energy have been stolen for like 9 months, 1 year. Now, I will ask you, do you truly think that an individual can consume 2-bedroom flat, can use this total amount of energy in a month? That's another question begging for answer. Having estimated the energy loss, the authority concerned will move one step further to calculate the loss of revenue. The loss of revenue is now a function of the energy loss that is being calculated multiplied by the unit charge by the band. Of course, that band, there's an amount you pay per unit. And what is a unit of electricity? A unit of electricity, for us to understand clearly, is if you have a pressing iron that is rated 1 kilowatt. If you should use that pressing iron to iron your clothes for 1 hour, then you have used that pressing iron of 1 kilowatt for 1 hour. Then you are bound to pay the authority. The authority will charge you for 1 unit for that pressing iron. And that's how it goes. If the pressing iron is 2,000 kilowatt, it means that once you use it for 30 minutes, you're already going to pay the authority for 1 unit of the authority will charge you the right amount for 1 unit of electricity. That's how it goes. So the energy loss is the loss of revenue is energy loss multiplied by the unit charge by the band and the number of months that the system is assumed to be on bypass. Then we have estimated this value as the energy loss. The unit charge for the banding of this customer, we are assuming a band B in the typical Nigerian scenario is now 68 naira. And here, we're also assuming that the consumer had been stealing energy for 9 months. By the time you make your calculation straight up, the amount accrued to this customer is 407,286 naira. But it doesn't end there. The authority will have to include the 7.5% VAT on this amount. So once you take a 7.5% VAT on this amount and add up to this amount, will arrive at 437 naira, 832 kobo, 437 naira, 37,832 naira, 45 kobo. The authority will still move one step further in calculating or in adding the meter tempering charge. In our scenario, the last time I checked, we have 100,000 naira for individuals that tamper with a 3-phase meter. All things being equal, the total amount, if you should add 100,000 to this, we have 537,832 naira, 45 kobo. So a customer whose load is 4 ampere and is on 3-phase, is being supplied using a 3-phase meter on a band B in a Nigerian scenario, and have been stealing energy for 9 months. Once the authority gets hold of you, you will be made to pay 537,832 naira, 45 kobo. I will ask a simple question. Is it worth it to steal energy? Because I want to trust my instinct that if as an individual, you continue to load your unit on a daily basis or as at when required, you should not. I don't think it's possible for individual with 4 ampere to pay this amount for electricity charge within 9 months. That is why we encourage customers or consumers, please pay up your energy charge. Don't try to bypass the system. In a typical Africa scenario, the system is characterized by so many worries: vandalization, system collapse, energy being stolen, poor maintenance. So let us try in Africa to be good ambassador of the system. One funny thing is that the system has so uniquely designed itself to recover whatever energy that is being stolen by A from B. So let it not be in a case of you living in a glass house and you throw stones. Conclusively, Africa, trust me, will be great again. Avoid energy thefts, both in Africa and beyond. It's not just an African thing, but it's as if it's more paramount in Africa. Let us say no to energy thefts, and yes to energy democracy. Thank you very much, and watch out for my further lecture on issues as it concerns power systems, energy supply in Africa and beyond. My name is Dr. Aeroboma, also known as Power Doctor. See you some other time. Thank you.